as good a day as any to start the rebuilding of life. The roads that lay open are many when the old one's gone under the knife. And I can feel the sun on my skin, beginning to thaw from within.
When people hear the words slow living, they often associate it with something dreamy, like sunlight filtering through the window, endless cups of tea or coffee, slow mornings, a cute little kitty sleeping on a linen chair that's situated just right in that perfectly clean living room. And sure, I guess sometimes life can look like that, but that is not slow living, and that is certainly not what I mean when I think of slow living in retirement. So let's discuss that in this video. Hi, my name is Raina, and this is Smaller Retired Life, and on my channel we talk about all things that pertain to retirement, living in your 50s, 60s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. There is a misunderstanding about the meaning of slow living. It's definitely not sitting on your sofa, looking out into space and doing nothing, nor is it just walking around aimlessly in some kind of a fog. And it certainly is not some kind of an Instagram or Pinterest aesthetic that we are all supposed to buy into. Literally. The truth is it's a lot more interesting than that. I think it's a lot more practical. Today I want to talk about what slow living isn't, all of the myths and all of the misconceptions, and why in my small retired life, slow living isn't just about staging pretty moments and pretty vignettes that are Instagram worthy, but it's really about building a life that I want to wake up to every single day. So let's discuss. Slow living is not laziness. I can't even count how many times I've heard people say, I would love to live slow, but I would get bored. As if slow living is you sitting on your sofa staring off into space and having this meaningless existence. That is not what slow living is all about. For me, slow living is being incredibly active without running a race. It's about finding a rhythm. I think the Stoics would say that it's a difference between stillness and stagnation. When I used to work, I was all about doing as much as possible in as little time as possible. And oftentimes I thought the busier I was and the more stressed out I was, the more productive I was. That is just not how I do things anymore. I found that when I slow down and I take my time and I'm more intentional when I'm doing something, I make fewer mistakes, I focus more, and I actually accomplish so much more. And oftentimes I do it at a fairly good clip. Not that I have to, but it seems to go better. And I think it's because I slow down and I take my time with things that I enjoy doing. Slow living is not about speed, it's about intention. When you do things slowly, you automatically do them with more intention. For any of you that have followed my videos, you know that part of slow living for me does include doing all kinds of crafts. It's been quite a while since I've done knitting and sewing, actually quite a few years. I've forgotten a lot of the basics, and that's why I'm really thrilled to partner up on this video with Craftsy. Craftsy is your online resource for all things creative. I was able to find classes on sewing, on quilting, on knitting and crochet, and many, many more. I watched Jen Lucas's top-down socks using Magic Loop, which reminded me of all the techniques I needed to know to finish these amazing socks. I'm also excited to really start getting back into sewing, so I'm watching the Startup Library in Sewing by Sarah Alm just to get myself refreshed on some of the basics, like how to work my machine, how to thread it, and so on. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the video description will get a full year of premium membership to Craftsy for only $1.49. I love that Craftsy is always creating some new classes to keep me coming back for more and help me stay inspired. Thank you so much to Craftsy for sponsoring my video. Here's the second thing. Slow living is not some perfectly curated moment that is magazine worthy and that looks like it should be posted on Instagram. And I do blame Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube for the damage that they're doing in regards to the slow living movement. It's almost like our homes have to look like something out of a Nancy Meyers movie, or there has to be this perfectly minimal aesthetic because social media is telling us to do that, and not because this is something that you're passionate about and that you want. I believe that often the most photogenic moments are the ones that don't fit that aesthetic. Think of a sink full of dishes. Doesn't look that great, but maybe they're there because you've made this incredible meal for other people or just for yourself, or you baked a cake, or you made some amazing bread. There's this mess that's been created, and maybe it doesn't look good in pictures, but you've taken the time to do something special, something good, and something tasty. And that is slow living. Keeping your knitting things all over the place. Maybe you have some yarn sitting on your coffee table, or you have a knitting project sitting on a side table beside your favorite chair. Again, maybe that doesn't look great in a photo. This is slow living. It's a wonderful moment. It's doing things that you love and that you enjoy and that you practice with intention. In my small retired life, beauty is not about perfection. The beauty is in the rhythms that I cultivate in doing the things that give me so much joy. It's having knitting beside my chair so that I can pick it up anytime I want and knit a few rows. Or it's having my sewing out on the table because I'm working on a project. I think we have to get rid of this feeling that we need to have all of these perfect moments and we have to have the perfect life in order to say that we're living slowly. Slow living is all about intention. It's not about perfection. It is not an aesthetic. It is not just a moment. It's the day-to-day rhythm that you establish by doing meaningful things to you. Sometimes it could be as simple as cleaning your home. I don't know if you've ever read the book Cleaning Like a Monk, but it talks about making cleaning an intentional exercise, something that you do with focus and with a certain amount of gratitude. That is slow living. Slow living is not showing off a perfect Instagram-worthy home where you've got the mess hidden in a corner off camera and you're only showing that little tiny piece that's perfect. My home is definitely not cluttered and it does tend to be more minimal, but I have tons of art on a wall that maybe isn't everyone's cup of tea. And I have my knitting out and I have my sewing out and I have books in my library. I have my dumbbells in my bonus room at the top of the stairs, and they're out all the time reminding me that I need to do a workout. I don't worry about the aesthetics of that. Those are things that suit my rhythm in life, my day to day, and are part of a slow and intentional small retired life. If you've been waiting to live slow until your life looks picture perfect, then you're going to be waiting forever, because our lives are never perfect. And slow living is not about waiting for the perfect moment. It's looking around you, grabbing onto the things that you already have and the things that you are doing, and start putting some intention into it. Look at your surroundings and look at the things you do with a different point of view, and slow down and be more intentional. Slow living is not about retreating from life. Some people think that when you're living a slower life, and especially when you're retired, that you stay home and you can shut yourself away and just kind of drop out of living, drop out of the world at large, I guess. And I think it's the opposite. And of course, I love my quiet moments. I'm an introvert. And I'm not talking about getting out there and forced socializing. I guess what I'm saying is that for me, slow living is about getting outside and walking along the river and really enjoying the rhythm of the water and how it's flowing, or enjoying some of the wildflowers that are out right now. It's also maybe about spending an extra hour on the phone with a friend who maybe needs to talk about something, or who needs for you to listen and focus on her. Or it's having a great conversation via email with my friend Liz in Ontario, where I can get excited about her new pizza oven and the great pizzas that she's making, or I can talk about my latest knitting project. Those are things that allow you to engage with other people and with the world, which is so important, and these are things that I consider a part of slow living. It's not about disconnecting. It's more about engaging with the world at your own pace, at your own speed, I guess, with your own rhythm, and being able to focus on the things that are beautiful, and also focus on your friends and your relationship and give them a little bit more time and more attention. You know that I'm into Stoicism, and the Stoics believe that nature works at its own pace. A tree doesn't kind of panic its way through growth. And the sun always rises at its own pace and also sets at its own pace. And that is how I choose to live my life. And I think that is a tenet of slow living. It is about setting your own pace and setting your own rhythm. It may not be the same every single day. There could be variations, but it truly is about living with intention and slowing down a little bit. Slow down and smell the roses, as my grandmother used to always say. Slow living is not always comfortable. Typically, when we think of slow living, it's always kind of this cozy thing. Cozy blankets, cups of tea, cozy chairs, beautiful moments. And sure, that sounds lovely, and oftentimes that is what it is. But sometimes slow living means that we have to sit with some discomfort. When you slow down, you can't outrun some of the bad stuff, some of the negative stuff. There's weeds in our garden, and sometimes there's negative thoughts that are going through our mind. When we have a little bit more time, it means we have more of an opportunity to dwell on some of these things, to dwell on thoughts that are making us uncomfortable, or habits that are not good for us or that we don't enjoy in ourselves. When life slows down, these things become a little bit more apparent. For me, that might mean then going through a closet that I've been avoiding cleaning up, or doing a task that I've been putting off because it's uncomfortable. Like taking my car in for servicing. I hate doing that. Or focusing on something that I think is a negative and that I need to deal with, and that I should probably give some time to and challenge myself to improve. The Stoics talk about voluntary discomfort, choosing to do things that maybe aren't comfortable in order to improve yourself as a person. I think that slow living does that. It's kind of about pruning the rose bushes, you know? Sometimes you have to take a bunch of stuff off in order to get like some amazing growth, or deadheading flowers. And slow living allows you to do that. It allows you to choose to do something that is not comfortable, or to maybe contemplate something that is giving you a bit of grief, and allows you the opportunity to make some changes because you have the time to make them, and because you can make them intentionally and focus on that specific task. Take things slowly, ease into it, and you will probably have a little bit more success. Slow living is not just for the privileged. I think this one stops a lot of people. People think somehow that the only way you can lead a beautiful, slow life is if you're wealthy and if you're privileged. You do not need a countryside home or a ton of money or a designer teapot in order to live a meaningful, slow, retired life. Here is the truth. Slow living is not about having more or getting more. It's about needing less. I mean, you can successfully and meaningfully slow live in the tiniest of apartments in the middle of a big, noisy city. When I was in Melbourne, I rented out Airbnbs, and I had tiny, tiny little Airbnbs with not a lot of room. And often they were in very busy and noisy neighborhoods. And I still was able to have these wonderful, slow moments in my days and to live my life meaningfully amidst all of this chaos. Slow living is a mindset. It's not an aesthetic, and it's not about having a lot of money. If anything, I would say that sometimes when you have less money, you can actually live slow a little more successfully because you savor the things that you do have. You enjoy them and you actually use them, and you're not out there looking to buy more. In my small retired life, I try not to buy new things or more things. I like to use what I have. I like to shop my closet. I like to cook very simple meals from scratch because it's enjoyable. I feel really good about not adding to clutter in my home, and it allows me to focus on things and to be intentional with my things. Even with my crafts like knitting and sewing, I don't like to stash a ton of yarn and a ton of fabric. I like to maybe have one or two projects on the go and really savor every single one and actually complete them. The Stoics would tell you that wealth is not in possessions. Wealth is in perspective. And slow living allows you the time to gain a lot of perspective. Slow living is not passive. This is a huge myth. People would often make you think that when you retire, you can just sit there and you can just kind of allow life to happen to you and that things will just come to you. And okay, sure. I mean, life always comes to us. But I think actually that slow living is a very active and intentional exercise. Slow living is actively choosing what you do every day, your schedule and your routines. And it's also actively choosing the things that you allow into your life and also the things that you choose to maybe give up or exclude from your life. In my retirement, that means that I still have dreams and I still have goals and I have aspirations. It also means that I have routines and I have schedules and that there are things that I need to do. The difference is that I choose what I do. I choose those schedules. I choose what I allow in, and I also choose what I will discard. That's the big difference. I don't just drift by and let things happen. I actively do manage my life because I want to have the life that I want to live and that, like I said at the beginning, I want to wake up to every day. Let's summarize. Slow living is not laziness, it's not an aesthetic, and it's not about retreating from the world. It's not about always being comfortable, and it's also not about just being there for privileged people, and it's not about being passive. Finally, that last one is the most important one. You choose how you live your life. You choose what comes in and what comes out. So slow living is entirely within your domain. All right, if you have anything to add to what I've said, I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Share any of your tips or anything that you wanted to add to my list, and I will see you all next week at our regular time. Bye.